It's Friday, March 27th, and time for your Barbados Today morning news update. A public health emergency is looming as the country records 24 cases of the contagious COVID-19 coronavirus. As such, both houses of parliament will meet today to amend the Emergency Management Act to include public health emergencies. The move comes as the national preparedness level rose to stage 3 in anticipation of the number of cases reaching 25. In an address to the nation last night, Prime Minister Mia Mottley also announced that a daily 8 p.m. to 6 p.m. curfew will go into effect on Saturday, March 28.
The Constitution of Barbados allows us to be able to declare a state of emergency if we want to be able to restrict the movement of persons and to have other powers. It is a judgment of Cabinet, however, that rather than rely on the emergency powers under the Constitution of Barbados, which tend more to be associated with national disasters as well as insecurity or riots, we would prefer to amend the Emergency Management Act specifically to allow us to deal with public health emergencies. It is against this background, therefore, that when that act is amended, orders will be made by the government and proclamations by Her Excellency the Governor-General. The first thing will be to be able to declare a public health emergency in Barbados, which will then trigger another set of actions. Those orders will lead, therefore, to us being able to, one, ensure that as few people as possible will move around over the course of the next few weeks.
A clear warning was also sent to anyone found disobeying the curfew.
I want to make it absolutely clear, my friends, that in the matter of that 8 to 6 a.m. restricted activity curfew, the government of Barbados is not playing. Law enforcement shall be instructed to apply and enforce the law fairly, transparently, and without fear. All persons not falling within the stated ambit of essential services and not having good reason for being on the road after 8 p.m. and before 6 a.m. shall be dealt with in accordance with the spirit and the intent of the law. It would be useful for us to note that as of this hour, more than 1/4 of the world's population is on what can be referred to as lockdown for their own good, for our own good. We have taken this decision, as I said, in advance of our stated 25-count benchmark because we want to keep ahead of the epidemic. Because as countries across the globe are discovering, it's really impossible to catch up if new cases are constantly being recorded. So it is time to pause. Calm down.
Acting Chief Medical Officer Dr. Anton Bess gave a breakdown of the 24 COVID-19 patients, all of whom are in isolation.
Over the last 2 days, we've diagnosed 3 additional persons each day, bringing the total to 24 cases of COVID-19 in Barbados. And this is out of a total of 207 tests that we've conducted over the past 3 weeks. 13 of those cases are women, and 11 of those cases are males. 13 of the cases are also imported, with the majority of those imported cases being persons of Barbadian, who are Barbadian, my apologies. 10 of those cases were diagnosed through contact tracing, and 1 is still under investigation. All 24 cases are in isolation facilities at this point.
Prime Minister Mia Mottley will undergo a medical procedure this weekend. She made the disclosure last night during the national address on the COVID-19 pandemic.
I have a medical procedure that the doctors have advised that I should do as this weekend. I'm going to take the opportunity to do it. While I am doing that procedure, the Honourable Santia Bradshaw will act as Prime Minister, and indeed the COVID-19 team will remain with the Honourable Attorney General Dale Marshall, dealing with the governance and the law enforcement aspects of it, the Honourable Jeffrey Bostic continuing to chair the Emergency Operations Committee, and the Honourable Jerome Walcott continuing to marshal, as he has done brilliantly, the regional and international relations, particularly with the management of our supply and logistics chain, such that we can continue to keep Barbadians completely safe and completely provided for. I know I will be well, but I know that some of you may want to be concerned. Please don't be. All will be well. But what I will not brook is not telling you the truth and not having persons spread rumors about it across the country.
The nation's homeless charity said its shelter is ready should government escalate its COVID-19 crisis response to a national lockdown. Head of the Barbados Alliance to End Homelessness, Kima Safri, told Barbados Today the shelter is still available at night for clients and offices are still open. He said a room has also been set aside as a quarantine chamber in case a client is diagnosed with COVID-19 with a follow-up by the relevant authorities if the need arises.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
It's Festive Friday at the Bridgetown Night Market at Pelican Craft Center. Kick off the weekend this Friday from 4 p.m. to midnight with loads of food, drinks, and entertainment. Get ready for Crop Over with the Rhythm Root Street Parade. Party like it's Kadooman Day on the street around Pelican Village with costume reveler, music, and more. It's Festive Friday. It's Festive Friday at the Bridgetown Night Market at Pelican Village Center from 4 p.m. to midnight. Admission free.
To news from our regional neighbors, the U.S. charges Venezuela's President Nicolás Maduro and other senior officials on allegations of narco-terrorism. According to international reports, they have been accused of flooding the U.S. with cocaine and using drugs as a weapon to undermine the health of Americans. We get more in this report from Reuters TV.
Those 250 metric tons equate to 30 million lethal doses.
The U.S. government on Thursday indicted Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and more than a dozen other top Venezuelan officials on so-called narco-terrorism charges.
They have obtained the support of the Maduro regime.
The charges allege a scheme in which Maduro's government helped funnel drugs from Colombia through Venezuela and eventually to the U.S. mainland in lethal quantities. The charges are the latest escalation of the Trump administration's pressure campaign aimed at ousting the socialist leader. The State Department offered a reward of up to $15 million for information leading to the arrest and conviction of Maduro. U.S. Attorney General William Barr.
The indictment of Nicolas Maduro and his co-defendants alleges a conspiracy involving an extremely violent terrorist organization known as the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, the FARC, and an effort to flood the United States with cocaine.
That's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.